Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are so pleased to have in the studio with us today from some SDSU School of Music and Dance. Go Aztecs. I graduated from San Diego State, as did my daughter. So Aztec for life. Jeff Nevin is the Mariachi Professor for the School of Music and Dance. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing fine. How long have you been at SDSU?
You know, this is a new program. So last year was my first year teaching it. There's a little bit of history that over the years, so I teach at Southwestern College and since the 90s. And a lot of my students have gone to Southwestern College have gone to San Diego State and started mariachis there as clubs. But to have an actual official class, at one point they started it around 2010, 12. 2012, 13, 14 is when they had a class that only lasted about 3 or 4 years. And then I was very happy when they called me 2 years ago to get this started last year. So last year was my first year teaching.
Well, that's great. And got one of the Mariachi students with you, Kassandra Saucedo. How you doing, Kassandra?
Hi, I'm doing great, Drew.
What got you interested in mariachi and dancing and everything that's involved with it?
Yeah, well, I actually joined my high school's mariachi program in 2020. I went to San Isidro High School, and I actually didn't want to join the program. My mom made me do it, but I ended up really loving it, and now I'd say that mariachi is a part of me.
Oh, that's great. Joined by my co-host and associate producer of the Spotlight on the Community Show, Brandon Joe, who will be an incoming senior at UC San Diego. Brandon, I know you got a whole bunch of questions for these two.
Absolutely. So you mentioned something that the program disappeared for a couple of years and then came back 2 years ago. What happened 2 years ago that kind of reignited this program at SDSU?
Well, that's a good question for somebody to say, why did they invite me? It's really nice. As far as I know, I got a phone call from the director of School of Music, and you know we've had a lot of my students are there. I was actually surprised when I showed up last fall, and 5 or 6 of my former students showed up to the class. So they were already music majors and other majors. So a lot of people in the class, they don't have to be music majors, but many of them are. And I'll tell you, one of my just sort of kind of missions in life and this whole thing, when I started at Southwestern in 1998, the idea from my perspective was that I could see that there were going to be more and more school-based programs of mariachi music. Most schools, they have a marching band or they have an orchestra, or they have a choir. I could see that there were more and more and more mariachis, but there just weren't very many teachers. And the first generation of mariachi teachers were all professionals who never went to college. I have my degrees in music composition. I had just finished my doctorate in composition at UC San Diego. But I was invited to start this program at Southwestern, and I said, you know what? I know that we need to start training the next level of teachers to become the next high school and middle school and elementary school teachers for mariachi. And then at Southwestern, since it's only a 2-year school, I knew that we had to make this connection with San Diego State. So from my perspective, it was a long time coming because I've been sending my students and trying to get my students to go out and get their music degrees, and it's been successful. But it's nice to know that San Diego State really has finally said, you know what, we want to institutionalize this. We want this to be part of the School of Music. We want this to be something that our music education students, and it also serves the entire campus community, but something that we can do to help train the next generation of mariachi
absolutely.
teachers.
We're so close to the border. It's just mind-boggling to me that we don't see the touch of Mexican culture all over San Diego. It's here, it's there. There's like amazing food places. There's areas if you go more south, but why don't we see it all over San Diego? And talk to me a little bit more about that.
Well, so it's the communities. And San Isidro, Kassandra, you went to San Isidro High School. Just give me an estimate. What percentage of the school maybe was first generation American or even immigrants that themselves came from Mexico?
95%.
95%.
Wow.
Okay.
95%.
So San Isidro is right on the border. Southwestern College, we are in Chula Vista. Our main campus is in the middle of Chula Vista. It's about 7 or 8 miles from the border, but we have satellite campuses right on the border. I joked you could probably throw a stone over the border from the campus of Southwestern down there. We absolutely have students that live on the other side, and they cross every day to come to class. And one of the things that for me is so profound about these mariachi programs, the reason I could see 25 years ago that this is the direction not only San Diego but the whole country is taking, is that we have more and more immigrants. People are coming, to the United States. Just the Pew Research statistics say that I think it's in the teens, 15, 16, 17% of the United States is Latino, but now it's up to around 20, and then they're projecting it to be 30% in the next 20, 30 years. And those are people either immigrants or the children of immigrants. One of the things that happens is that, just imagine, so you live in Mexico and your daughter comes to the United States, and then you have grandchildren, right? So now the grandchildren, what language are they speaking? What kind of food are they eating? Well, how are they dressing? You look really nice. But you start to dress a little more American, a little bit less Mexican. So now imagine the grandparents looking at their grandkids that literally don't speak the same language that you do. And now one more generation, you get to third, fourth generation, the people they literally don't speak the same language. Kassandra, I'll ask you another thing. Do you speak in English or in Spanish to your grandparents?
Spanish.
In Spanish, okay. A lot of my students, they say, look, hi, Grandma, how's it going? What are we having for dinner? Pues, mira, si quieres, te puedo cocinar unos de esos. Oh, that sounds really great. Literally, they don't speak the same. They understand each other, but they don't speak the same language. Now, just imagine as a father, as a grandfather, as a parent, what would it be like to see your kids that literally, it's just, I mean, you're still my grandkids, and I love you, but you have to feel a little bit of a disconnect. But now imagine those kids dressed up in a mariachi suit, singing the same songs that you sang with your grandparent.
Yeah.
It's profound.
Well, I was going to ask Kassandra. We're chatting with Kassandra Saucedo. She's a Mariachi student at SDSU School of Music and Dance, joined by her professor, Jeff Nevin. Been a Mariachi professor, for a year? 1 year now?
1 year at San Diego State. Yeah.
But many years at Southwestern College. Have you defined this? We'll see how Jeff looks at it. How would you define mariachi music and dancing? How would you define it? What makes it different than other types?
And other types of music?
Or anything, yes.
Well, there's many genres of music that stem from different places around the world. Mariachi music happens to come, from Mexico, and we live in a border town right next to Mexico. So, mariachi has always been very prominent, and maybe not that I noticed, but, with what I know about Jeff and how long that he's been doing this, it has always been very prominent in San Diego and LA, in California, Southern California. And, just seeing how much it's growing, how much it's progressing over the years, to more and more schools, especially for me, it was the Sweetwater Union High School District. I know also the San Diego Unified School District is also having their programs, but it's just becoming more and more like, for example, restaurants have a specific day that mariachis go and play because they know their audience, they know the people that go to eat there, especially if it's a Mexican restaurant. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that, since we're seeing it so much more, people are becoming more aware, and they know that it's something that the people want,
Is it the collaboration? Is it the music? Is it that brings people together that you like the most about mariachi music?
I think it's both. It's definitely both. People appreciate, mariachi music is very lively, even the musicians, they know that they're expected to, give a show, kind of
Right.
perform a certain way, display a certain persona. And it really, makes people happy to listen to it, no matter, even if you're not Mexican. People love listening to mariachi music. They love seeing a mariachi go and play a song, whether it be the most popular ones or other ones that they've never heard before. It's just the, I want to say the aura that it creates.
No, that's all true. Brandon, you had a question.
It's an atmospheric thing.
Yeah.
It's just so joyful and it's beautiful.
Well, let me just jump in. So you asked about the education and music. Number one, it's just music. So, the Mozart effect, people like 20, 30 years ago said, you know what? Having kids playing music in school is good for the kids. It's good for the school. It's good for the community. We're just talking to why do you want your kids to be in the music program? Frankly, I want them to find their friends amongst that community because they're just nice folks. I mean, it's, if you're not participating in any sort of extracurricular activity, it's going to be hard to find friends when you're in school. And if you're in the music program, you're going to make your friends amongst those people. If you're on the football team, you're going to make your friends on the football team. If you're on the wrestling team. And there's just something really nice about music education. Everyone has to do their own thing. There's an individual skill. If you're the one who's playing poorly, the whole group sounds bad. So you have responsibility of the whole group. But also, if you're just by yourself, it's not going to contribute either. So it's teamwork, it's personal responsibility. You really have to practice. I mean, let me give you a violin right now and see how long it takes you to make a sound that sounds good. It's going to take you years. Okay. Yeah. It's not something that you can pick it up in a second. Yeah. And mariachi, in addition, has this extra cultural level. So it's music education. Everything good about music is there. Everything good about teamwork, everything good about sports is in mariachi. And it has this extra cultural connection to so many kids in our community.
No, I think that's great. When we come back from break, we're going to talk more about that as well. And then the value of music education. Listen, as Susan knows, as Clausen, who brings us a lot of wonderful folks like yourself. If Drew ran the world, and I was a former curriculum developer, I still have a business actually.
So you did run part of the world.
Well, some of the world.
That's a funny way of putting it.
I would have VAPA as, you can learn everything through visual performing arts.
Absolutely.
Everything can be taught. We say this many, many times on the Spotlight shows. Brandon has heard, whether it's math, it's science, it's language, it's culture, it's physics, anything and everything can be taught through it. So I want to talk about the importance of that as well. And Jeff, we always, Kassandra, leave some time at the second half of the interview, what our listeners can do to support your program and to support you down the road as well, Kassandra. When we return with Jeff Nevin, he's the Mariachi professor at SDSU, student of music and dance, joined by his student Kassandra Saucedo. She was at San Ysidro High School, got excited about that back then, and now is just taking it to another level. Joined by my colleague Brandon Joe, associate producer. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 19th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things in our region, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's visual performing arts, whether it's financial literacy, and Alzheimer's, everything in between. They do great work. Just looking forward to continuing our conversation with Jeff Nevin, Mariachi Professor at SDSU School of Music and Dance, joined by Kassandra Saucedo, one of the students in the program, and my associate producer, Brandon Joe, who will be an incoming senior at UC San Diego. Brandon?
Kassandra, I have a question. Do you mind if I do a little bit of digging into what you said earlier? Even before that, what generation are you in your family?
In my family in the
American.
United States.
Yeah.
Okay. First, my parents were immigrants from
Gotcha. So first generation. And you said you were hesitant about joining the Mariachi back in high school, right?
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's something that I'd never really found interesting. I grew up listening to different forms of Mexican music, whether it be at family parties or anywhere really, or even at restaurants. Like I just said, people enjoy that. I didn't enjoy that when I was younger. I just thought it was too loud. And, but my mom, I really wanted to go to that school because that's where all my friends were. And she said, oh, well, okay, if you want to go there, because I was at High Tech High.
Oh, yeah.
So she said, okay, well, if you want to go there, you need to join the mariachi. And I had played violin in like first grade for maybe, I don't know, a couple months. I never got any good at it. I left it there. So she's like, oh, I want you to pick up the violin again. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. But okay. I wanted to go. So I was like, okay, Mom, I'll join. And yeah, so like I said, I was never really interested in the music. But, even from the first day that I showed up there, just the environment and the students there. And there was a lot of students in that class, because I joined in the second semester. So, people had already grown to love it and enjoy it and learn how to, play their instrument that they had picked up in the beginning of the year. And I saw that and I was like, wow, they actually know what they're doing. And granted, I joined the beginning class, so they really didn't really know what they were doing probably, but they loved it. And it was just such a happy atmosphere. And I, right after that, like maybe 2 months later, COVID. So, so I never got to enjoy, the mariachi class amongst all the students in the class. But I needed 2 years of BAPA. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll join in COVID as well. So my sophomore year was online and I still did mariachi. And I really didn't, it was difficult, to learn online and play the violin. So I really didn't, even though I had done a year online, I didn't really get much better at the violin. So it wasn't until my junior year that I wasn't sure if I was going to go back because I wasn't really growing to enjoy it online. But I was like, okay, I think I could really learn to love this. So I joined again, and that's when it all began for me, my love for mariachi music.
Amazing. I mean, I can't imagine learning an instrument online. I couldn't imagine learning anything online in that format. It was quite awful. I want to ask you, because at the beginning, let me rephrase it. So if you could go back and talk to your younger self, a young Latina who was just going into high school, and tell her about the beauty and the wonder of mariachi, what would you say to her to kind of encourage her, or maybe a young Latina in general, to join?
I think I would tell her to actually pay attention to what the teacher was trying to say because, I know it was very difficult for the teachers, but if I would have listened, if I would have actually practiced with all the time that I was at home alone, if I would have put more, love into learning the instrument, I think I would have had, I would have been a little bit more advanced. And and I think that your advancement in an instrument and how much you're actually learning, of course, it stems from how much you're putting into it, but also it would have made me enjoy more.
I thought it was interesting about it, and Jeff had made a mention of this. It's not like you can just pick up any instrument. My daughter played violin as well, and was really good at it. until they wanted her to go in junior symphony, and she said, "I'm not interested now. It wasn't fun anymore. And if it's not fun, don't do it. Simple as that. But it takes time. It takes perseverance on this.
There's no substitution for that time. And so for us as educators, if we ran the world, the sooner you can start the kids,
100%.
the better they're going to do. And
100%.
from what you were saying, the better you get at it, the more fun it tends to be. But then they grow up, and everybody has different interests. You know, I'll tell you, I played soccer in elementary school, and I was the captain of my team, and my high school soccer team went to the state finals, and I got on varsity when they went to the something. But that's also the time that I started playing trumpet and started having these other experiences. And so the time came, it's like, you can't do both. And I said, I'd rather do music than continue with soccer. And your daughter went the other way, which is fine.
Yeah, she's a teacher. Teaches in the Poway School District. She's a fourth grade teacher. But one of the things that we love talking about on the show, we have an affiliation with the Classroom of the Future Foundation that's about college and careers and pathways. There is a great pathway. There are many careers in music, to say the least. You don't necessarily have to play music to have a career in music. Talk about that, Jeff.
So, especially with mariachi, this might surprise you, but Kassandra mentioned all the restaurants that have mariachis in there. There's how many Mexican-American folks that they have a wedding, you got to have a mariachi at a wedding. And you're going to have a funeral, we've got to play, mariachis at the funerals. You get divorced, what do? You throw a party and you hire the mariachis, all right? There's a ton of work for professional mariachis. As a teacher, it's difficult because my students reach a certain level. It's like, hey, I know 50 songs. And they think that they can go off and just start working. You got to know 1,000 songs, but once you know 50, you can start to get hired. So I tell my students, it's absolutely true that once you reach a certain level, you absolutely can play on the weekends. And nowadays they're making, $70 an hour. You can play 5, 10, 15 hours. The top pros are playing 20, 25 hours a week. So they're making, $1,500 a week. That's a real job.
It's a real job.
And that's just being a professional musician. The folks that are still in school, I really encourage them to get to that level because you can work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and maybe not make so much. But it's a really nice way. You can make $10,000 a year playing on the weekends, just, 3, 4, 5 hours. And that's something that you love to do. And it's real money. The hard thing is it's really hard, nowadays in San Diego, $50,000 a year is necessary. It's real hard to get more than that. You have to be the leader of the group. You have to promote the group. You have to go out and do it. Then you have other expenses because you're the one who's paying, all this stuff. So honestly, to be a straight up professional mariachi musician is a little bit hard. To have that as your second job is amazing. And to have it as something you're doing while you're putting yourself through school is incredible. So that's one thing. If you want to make a career and, I love the music, this is what I want to do with my life, I always push people towards teaching because they're absolutely, I saw it 30 years ago. And I wrote it down in a book that said, mariachi music today is like jazz music was 30 years ago. And when I grew up, playing, back, in the 80s, people were still talking about jazz. It's like, if classical music is, if you want to be a good musician, you got to play classical. Don't play jazz, because, they don't know how to play the notes straight. They, they're just making it up as they go along. All they do is play in bars. You're not playing concerts. You're doing this, and there's a racial component to it, which I won't even say. But jazz music, that's for other people. That's not for us. And in the 1990s when we're starting, I said mariachi is exactly like jazz was back in the 1960s and 70s. And what that means, at that point, they were putting jazz in schools all over the place. Wynton Marsalis won Best Classical and Best Jazz album the same year, which was incredible. I mean, like nobody had ever bridged those two kinds of music. And then now, what is it, Lincoln Center jazz? I mean, there's no question jazz is America's, everybody's proud of this. The whole world knows that jazz is the music that comes from America. We all accept that. But 30 years ago when I grew up, people had a lot of these negative connotations. 20 years ago, you don't even know this because you're like, oh, well, yeah, every school has mariachi and everybody loves to have mariachi in their school and it really helps the kids. But 20, 30 years ago, it was controversial.
Right.
And absolutely it's changing. So when I see my students who really love the music and they want to make a life out of it, I really recommend that they go to San Diego State or to another school. But that's the reason of having this link with San Diego State, is to say, no, you guys can go there. You can continue in the mariachi, but you get your music degree. You learn how to teach choir. You learn how to teach band. Learn how to teach orchestra. Learn how to teach guitar. You learn how to teach. You have a formal education degree, but you have the mariachi background. And I guarantee, my students who graduate, they're offered several jobs. We need a band director. Oh my God, you can do a mariachi too. We're going to hire you. And frankly, it's all over the country now. There are certain cities that are more concentrated, but they're all over the country. They're starting, and I've got students all over the world that are performing. Literally there's a Chinese mariachi. That's my student who started that group.
No, that's great to hear. We're chatting with Jeff Nevin. He is a Mariachi professor at SDSU's School of Music and Dance, owned by one of his students, Kassandra Saucedo, Mariachi student. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my associate producer, Brandon Joe. So Kassandra, obviously you're ingrained deeply with mariachi music and so forth. Do you see yourself becoming a teacher, or what do you see doing with mariachi music down the road, or nothing?
I'm actually not studying music at San Diego State. I'm a public administration major.
Oh yeah, PA major.
Yeah,
very good.
Definitely.
Good. So you can be one of our politicians to make sure mariachi music gets funded in the schools.
That's where I was actually going with this. My passion has always been in educational policy, and very specifically in the importance of VAPA in schools. It's something I'm very passionate about.
Well, listen, VAPA, besides the fact it would do so much to reduce, some of the mental stress, maybe bring back this thing that we've had lost into the nether ether, and that is empathy. Mariachi music, music in general, all about going ahead and getting people together, listening to folks, celebrating folks, and everything in between. And you're spot on with that analogy with jazz. I've been fortunate enough to go to the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival since 1985, and so as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to that, because it's music, and music is it's an igniter, it's a unifier, and everything in between. I'll start with you on this, Kassandra, and then pivot over to you, Jeff. What can we do to support what you're doing? Obviously, being a PA major and all that business, or just in mariachi music in general. What can our listeners do? Well,
I think pretty much exactly this podcast is really good to spotlight, our friends down south, or me down south. And, there's so many schools that could benefit from a program like this, and from other programs like you mentioned, dancing, like Folklorico. Many people love Folklorico too. And pretty much just shining light on it, getting people to hear about it, and and donate to the programs. I think that's something that could definitely benefit the students. Yeah, well, Jeff, you've been the poster child for this. I'm passionate about it for so many years, and it's getting the word out. You can't talk about it enough. You can't shout it out enough. What can our listeners do? So, as Kassandra said, just supporting the programs. When you see this, when we need to make budget cuts from the school for one reason or another, don't just say, well, the music programs have to be the first ones to go, because those are the ones that matter the least. Because they should be the last ones to go. Absolutely. This is the one this is what keeps kids in schools. This is what keeps the connection. Especially with mariachi music, it has a connection with the families, and that's something that not all of these other programs do. But if it's okay, you ask the question. We have a nonprofit group called the Mariachi Scholarship Foundation, and Mariachi Scholarship Foundation was created by Bob Griego, who was president of the Sweetwater Union High School District back in the 1990s. So he started, as president of the school board, started the first school-based mariachi in San Diego County, Southwest High School, in 1996. I started Southwestern College in 98, and the idea from the beginning was to show that those kids learning mariachi in high school, you can go to college and keep playing that, because not to get more technical, but even just the statistics of schools where the parents don't speak English, the kids tend not to graduate as much, or schools where the parents didn't have a college degree, they tend not to go to college as much. So from the beginning, these programs that were started here by the founders of the Mariachi Scholarship Foundation, the idea was, we're going to do something good for the school, good for the kids, good for the community, and connect them to college.
And so when I started, it was actually Nevin and Saucedo was the president of Southwestern College. And I remember meeting him, and he said, you know what? I want to have a mariachi degree at my school, just like they have out in Tucson and Texas and, and down in Mexico, all those other places that have degrees in mariachi music. I said, wait a minute, I'm from Tucson. I know exactly, there's a huge conference. I know what you're talking about. Ain't no such thing as a mariachi degree. But if you want to do that, I'll do it for you. And so he took some heat creating a full-time position for me to start at that. And my mandate from day one was to begin creating the programs, all of the curriculum. And that degree was approved by California Community College District, which at the time I think was the second or third largest higher education system in the world, like India, and then California community colleges. We have 100 and something colleges, 1 million students. And so this was approved in 2004 as the first college degree in mariachi music, but it's an associate's degree. And so the Mariachi Scholarship Foundation, back to your question, is still promoting mariachi education in schools. We're advocating for that. And we have events where we raise money to give scholarships. Just a few weeks ago, we awarded $49,000 worth of scholarships to those high school kids so that they can go to college, and to my college students so that they can go on and get their 4-year degrees. And you don't need to continue studying mariachi. It's you're a high school mariachi student, and now you graduate and you become a business major. What is it? Public administration major.
Yes.
But we award our scholarships to you when you graduate and do that. So support the Mariachi Scholarship Foundation. The website is Mariachi SD like San Diego, mariachisd.org. And we actually have our annual Mariachi Summit coming up the middle of July 15, 16, 17, 18 at Southwestern College. We have concerts at Southwestern Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you want to find those concerts are SWC PAC, Performing Arts Center, as Southwestern College Performing Arts Center, swcpac.com, or you can go to what I just said, mariachisd.org, and our gala concert is the 18th. We're bringing up Mariachi de America from Mexico City, my professional group, Mariachi Champaña. We also have the best college. Well, we're going to see because we're going to play back-to-back with them. They've won first place at national competitions, a college of Southern Nevada from Las Vegas, which is actually directed by a former student of ours. But he's taken his group to these national contests. And I said, bring your students and we'll play back-to-back. We'll see how it goes. And my college students, Mariachi Garibaldi from Southwestern. So we have a lot of events at Southwestern. The big concert, the fundraising concert, is July 18, Friday, Balboa Theater, downtown. Professional mariachis. And you can get tickets, Ticketmaster, Balboa Theater, or Mariachi SD. MariachiSanDiego.org.
No, that's great feedback. Well, thank you so much, Jeff and Kassandra, for joining us. Good luck in your studies as a public administration and wherever that's going to lead you. I know you'll still stay involved with Mariachi as well. And Jeff, thanks for the great insight on what you folks are doing. Congratulations on your success. It's only going to be on one way, just a rocket ship up. And we'll look forward to having you come back on the show somewhere down the road.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for inviting us.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. We've been chatting with Jeff Nevin. He is the Mariachi Professor, SDSU School of Music and Dance, joined by Kassandra Saucedo. She is a public administration major, but is totally into mariachi music, thanks to her mom, who forced her to do it when she was a student. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Brandon, Joe, always a pleasure having you as a co-host, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County, and we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.